Hello.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm on my last evening of house sitting. I get to go home for 2 nights and then I'm back at it again
Oh,
tomorrow.
nice.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it?
I have been here since July 9th, I think.
Oh, that's a while.
Yeah.
Wait, how
Well,
is it July 18th already? I'm
I
thinking
know.
it's like or something.
I know.
That's wild.
Yes, hello chat. How are y'all? I hope good. Um Hi, Mikoze, Nana, Green Emerald, Moon, Lepto, Expired Milk, Zay, Strawberry, Jessica, Nana, everybody.
Wow, nice crowd.
uh-huh. So, if you all saw in the description box a link to a Twitter thread, this gal on Twitter, Femispiration, posted a thread of like a ton of poll questions. Most of the polls are still live and active, so you could vote in them if you want to. But we wanted to discuss the questions from that poll and the results that are in so far. And yeah, that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Lisa is using a new microphone. Let her know if the
I know.
audio
I'm
sounds
I'm
bad.
always like obsessed, and then sometimes like it doesn't sound good, and I go back and I'm like, nobody said anything.
Because nobody can hear it except for you because you're so particular.
Well, I guess I like do it for my job, you know?
I know. But yeah, you sound fine. But you're the only one who's like, oh my God, it sounds so bad. Oh, you're funny.
You took the poll.
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna pull it up on my Twitter too.
Okay.
Can I just say, like, I've been on Twitter the last few days,
Thanks to me, I'm so bad.
lurking around. Well, I feel like you got, yes, a little bit, but like I had really bad insomnia like 4 nights ago. It was just like hot and disgusting here. And so I was up from like 1:30 to 6 in the morning.
Oh my God.
And I just went on Twitter and I just Googled radfem and radical feminism and just like read whatever was, popped up because I don't follow anybody. Like,
Right.
I only follow Kamala Harris and typos of the New York Times. It's like the only two accounts that I follow. And yeah, it's just so interesting to see like the conversations that are happening on there because like I'm not really in any radical feminist spaces like at all.
Yeah.
Besides,
Same.
our streams.
Yeah.
And then I watch like a few channels on YouTube, but like I'm really, really selective with what I watch.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, it's really interesting, like the being outside of that discourse for so long,
Yeah.
just like, oh man, you can actually live your life without being a part of any of that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like totally fine.
Yep. Sure is.
Hold on. Oh, can you post the link in the chat? Expired Milk says I have audio syndrome. Totally.
Has what? Audio tech syndrome. Um. Yes, I can. For Lepto was saying you might need a Twitter account in order to see past the first tweet in the thread. So if that's the case, sorry, but I do have slides and screenshots. So
okay, cool. Yeah, I want to pull up. Like, I probably know what my answers were, but not all of them
you
did
meant
I
in the
answer.
Discord,
Like,
not in the chat. Sorry.
oh yeah, no, I meant in the chat actually.
Oh,
I know it's in the link but I can't see that because I'm in StreamYard. But anyways, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay, shall we get started?
Yes.
Okay, first one. Yeah, we took these from at Femispiration's Twitter. Link is in the description box for her credit for these. So the first question was, The only form of class that matters is sex. All other identifiers are periphery, as a woman is always a woman first, regardless of race, social status, finance, etc. Do you agree, somewhat disagree, or disagree completely?
What did you answer?
I'm trying to type. Hold on. I said I agree.
I said somewhat agree. I actually talked about this in my most recent video, the stupid poll video, about like, you know, what's most important, sex or economic class. And yeah, I went into that quite a bit. I don't know if I need to reiterate any of that stuff here, but like I said in that video that if we say we forget about feminism entirely and we just focus on like workers' rights and empowering the working class, that would benefit, it would disproportionately benefit women. So we would be feminist without being feminism, which is a very unpopular. So if you wanted to get more people on board with materially helping women, that would be a way to do it. I do agree that sex transcends class oppression or whatever.
Right.
Because sexism transcends every social like social system or economic system, communism, capitalism, every period of history, sexism has existed, every socioeconomic class. You know, good question is whether, you know, this is another thing I saw on Twitter recently. Someone was saying like the idea that a 6-year-old boy can oppress like an adult woman or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. These were the results as of now. Like, these screenshots were taken last night, so there's still 2 days left in this poll, but this is what the results are as of now. So 1,800 people.
You know, I also want to say, like, with this stream and this is like a discussion. I wouldn't want to say like there's any wrong answers. Maybe some of them have wrong answers, but yeah, it's like everyone feel free to just say whatever you think, and if you want to say why.
Yeah, we just thought it was an interesting thread and wanted to talk about the questions.
Yeah, it's just sort of like taking the temperature of where we're all at and you know, what we can like teach each other and learn from each other on these kinds of things.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Would you want to look at the chat?
Okay. Let's see. Lepto says, somewhat agree. I think it's something that should have to be true, but the fact is we're conditioned to put the fact that we're women last.
That's very true. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Strawberry somewhat agrees. Other things matter, but a woman alone in a room with an able-bodied man will always be disadvantaged. And then Lepto says a 6-year-old boy can't oppress a woman, but can be socially positioned above her. Interesting.
I think a 6-year-old boy can oppress her if it's her own son.
Little emperor.
Right.
C says, I have been conditioned to see class first because of my poor upbringing in a rich area. The moment I see someone, I analyze how well off they could be, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think our own circumstances would, you know, and maybe race too, you know, if someone, that's like the intersectionality, like if someone feels like they've been more oppressed because of their race than being a woman or their class or whatever, that might color their opinion of this, you know, or their answer for this question. So
yeah, good. Okay, next one.
Yeah.
What percentage of men do you think would have to die to create a better world? 100%, 90 to 70%, 60 to 40%, or this isn't a solution?
What did you
Uh,
say?
I think I said 40 to 60%.
I said this isn't a solution.
Okay, why?
I just think it's not a solution because it's never gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
way too, it's like hypothetical, you know what I mean? I just think it's, so I guess it's like
Okay.
yeah. Now a good question would be, if it was 100%, would the remaining women replicate the structure, or would it be something totally different? Would the remaining women find other things of which to oppress each other? You know, would they model the new society after the patriarchy? And I guess you could say that like with the separatist, you know, woman's land or something too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Leptoceratops. If we could Thanos snap all the R words, how many men would be left? That's a very good question. I think that's a better question than this question.
Yeah. There's the results. So close between, look at the 32% versus 31%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. Very interesting. And 1 out of 5 people said 100%.
Yeah.
So I don't think 1 out of 5 people are even separatists, right?
Right.
So it's
Interesting,
interesting.
though. Mm-hmm. It is. Expired Milk says, my life was better when there weren't any XYs around. Crazy. Radical feminism is not open or welcoming to mothers, wives, etc. And this is a what thing? An avoidable thing, a bad thing, we should work on it, or a good thing, it's not meant to include them or be welcome to them.
When I got to the quiz, this was already had expired. So I didn't
Yes.
actually vote on this
Same.
one. I actually would I think the question is flawed. Like the premise is flawed. Because I disagree that radical feminism isn't open or welcoming to mothers, wives,
Right.
etc. Like we have women in our communities who are mothers and wives and stuff. They feel very welcome. Maybe radical feminist Twitter is a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Everyone, right. Everyone here. That's why it's interesting going on Twitter, because I feel like you and we have kind of been, well, you're a little bit more out there than me, but I don't know, whatever. We're like a specific community, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I know specifically I'm like pretty isolated, even though I have my own little community. So being apart from this stuff, it's like, oh, you go on Twitter and you're like, wow, the conversations that are happening there are like so different than the conversations that happen.
Yeah. And
in
same
our
with
space.
what's going on radfem Tumblr too. Like it's very different. But
I'm
yeah,
lucky
it is
that
worded weirdly.
I don't know how Tumblr works, and I've tried going on there and I found it super confusing. So I don't think I'll ever get like sucked into reading Tumblr. But yeah, I've gotten a little bit, you know, with Twitter, but
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, especially there's so many women who get married or have kids and then discover this stuff. I mean, I had
Mhm.
like many long-term relationships in my life that like a couple of them I thought like I was probably going to marry the guy and it just didn't happen or whatever. And then I had never heard of it's not like I heard of radical feminism and then like, you know, I don't know, do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like,
No.
okay, like a lot of women come to this learning about this stuff after they've already gotten married and they've already had
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
So they should definitely be welcome. I feel like I do feel like once you see this stuff and have your eyes open, it would be much harder to like genuinely get into a relationship with a man. Like if
Yeah, I
you're,
mean, yeah.
if you're in a radical feminist space and you're speaking with authority on radical feminism and stuff, and you're like on Tinder, like trying to go on dates 3 times a week or something,
Mhm. That
that's
doesn't make
pretty
much sense to
weird.
me.
That doesn't like make any sense. Yeah. Oh, can you read that?
Yep. C says, we can be welcoming while also criticizing the ideas and social expectations of motherhood and het marriage, although I'm a bit more critical of het marriage over motherhood itself. And then Coreopsis says, even if there's no actual shaming involved, there will always be women who react defensively when it's acknowledged that marriage and having sons aren't feminist actions. That's true. Irene says, the insistence upon feeling included is giving gender fandom micro-identity Mogai Tumblr to me. Oh my god. I don't know why people need to feel included in things.
Yeah, I think those last two comments you read are really complementary
Mm-hmm.
with each other. Like there's so much defensiveness and the like, and you and I've been texting about this the last few days
Yeah.
too, that it's like it's not a club. I made a video about that like literally 2 or 3 years ago that I was like, there's no velvet rope.
Right.
It's literally a framework of analysis. You
Yeah.
look at the world through this lens or you don't. It's like,
Right. No one is dragging you into the radical feminist spaces, kicking and screaming. Like, if you want to come in, you sure can,
right.
but no one's making you do it.
Right. Everyone's welcome to be here and learn. And we don't have ID cards. We don't have
Right.
membership cards.
Oh, speaking of, it is.
I wish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Silly.
Hmm.
Okay, next one. The online radical feminist environment has an anti-blackness or racist issue. Agree, disagree, or in the middle?
I said agree from some of the things that I have read on Twitter
Me too. Yeah.
recently. There are
Yeah.
some women, I told you we should bring back WWCTRF, women who call themselves radical feminists, because
Uh-huh.
like just
Woof.
like and we've heard it too, at first I actually didn't vote on this and then I went back and said agree. Like it's not something that I feel like I have the authority to have an opinion about, but I know that I've heard it from women in our communities who are Black or women
Mm-hmm.
of color who are like definitely bring this stuff up and like what the heck. But some of the
Yeah.
stuff I've read on there, it's like it's literally like per se racist. It's like not even any nuance to it at all.
Right. It's just blatantly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw like one tweet that was like, white women should avoid Black men specifically
I saw that
because
too. Oh.
because they statistically they're like commit the most violent crimes or something like that. And it's like, you should avoid all men. Like, why do you have to frame it that way? Like that, do you hear yourself? Like that is like a per se racist statement.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you say that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard women of color sharing their experiences and feeling that radical feminist spaces can be racist or exclusionary to the specific intersectionalities of race with sex.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's something that there needs to be space for and platforms for women of color to amplify their voices, because um, we don't know what we don't know as white women, right? And so we have to
Oh
be able
yeah,
to be open and listening and giving space to women of color.
definitely agreed. And I'm always so grateful for those voices in our communities,
Mm-hmm.
because that it's just not a perspective that I, from first person view, see the world through. So,
Right.
and it's not like I'm not trying to like, even it's I'm so paranoid about this stuff, like as most white liberals are or whatever. But like I don't mean that in a way like, oh, I need them to educate me or something, but it's just like, no, I'm just glad to see a perspective that's like, obviously I know the white woman perspective on things,
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep. 15 Jessica says there's a woman of color she followed on Radblur for her informative posts, but people started shit with her because she was a lesbian of color.
there are a
Ugh.
couple of child-free / antinatalist Black women on, like, I think they're on TikTok, but I've seen them on YouTube Shorts, who are like
Right.
really, really good. And I don't know of any white women who are doing the equivalent to that. And it's interesting because like those, my understanding of it too, it's like speaking up on those topics in like the Black community. I'm not really sure about that phrase, but um, it's really different. Like it has a really different connotations than speaking up amongst white people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh
this is
yeah,
a
that's
great comment from Strawberry.
mhm,
Just to be clear, radical feminism as a movement is not racist, but
right.
sadly there are some racists that are shit people within radfem circles. Yeah, too true.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, radical feminism should fight against racism just as
Yeah,
in an intersectional way. We are all
exactly.
female, right? So we
Yeah.
all we all suffer and from being female.
Hmm.
We're all united in that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no reason to have any divisions amongst ourselves
Hmm.
on any other axes besides, like, again, acknowledging intersectionality, that some women face oppression on different axes, but as far as being women and being female, we're
Yeah,
all
we
united
can.
in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, united.
Mhm.
That's a good word for it. Okay. Most women on Earth are deeply male centered and spend large amounts of time and energy towards them being males. Agree, disagree, or you see both ways?
What did you say?
I said agree.
So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems
Lots of
like,
agreeing.
yeah, it's not, I think that's it's almost like just like a factual thing. It's not like an opinion, like, is that anybody's opinion?
Oh my god, the chat just exploded with agreement.
Most women are heterosexual.
Yep.
81% of women have a male's baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that would be most. Objectively
Mm-hmm.
true. Yeah, it's not even like, what were the results on that one? That is also hot.
Results as of yesterday.
Who is
83%
disagreeing with
agree.
that? Yeah,
I know.
who is disagreeing? Wacky.
I don't know. Water is wet. Yep. That one's easy. I don't know if we need much more than that.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, next one. Divesters, misandrists, other non-lib fem thinkers, etc., should be considered what within radical feminist spaces? Divester, I didn't know this word, so I had to look it up from Merriam Dictionary, is a Black woman who puts herself first, is not male identified or conventionally woke, cares deeply about Black women as a demographic, but may avoid some individual Black women due to their proximity to toxic Black male worship. So
Oh,
these
that's
women
interesting.
who are not radical feminists but are divesters, misandrists, non-lib fem thinkers should be considered what within radical feminist spaces? Included, excluded, or neutral. So they're not radical feminists, but
Well, I don't think misandry is a real thing.
right.
I mean, unless you say KAM or whatever, like, which is, I don't, is anyone serious when they say that? Like, I
No.
mean, right? That's sort of just like an edgy thing. I said neutral on this one just because I think it's like sort of a weirdly worded question. Also, like other non-lib fem thinkers. Oh, so they mean like rad leaning or something?
Right. Gender critical. Women who maybe aren't radical feminists, but they're not liberal feminists either.
I see. Extremists or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
misandry is just not, it's just not real.
The results here are interesting. Yeah, they should be included. 38% said that. Neutral, 40%. Excluded is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because I would say if you want to be misandrous like the black pill feminists or whatever, which I do consider myself, like I see it as more of just pretty much all those women find their way to the more extremist views like via radical feminism, I think. Or they're
Probably.
like aware of it or they're on the periphery of it. Like it's sort of part of it. So if anything, yeah, I would say included. I would definitely not say excluded.
No, definitely not.
I have just like a broader view, I think, of radical feminism than some people. I don't know.
Jessica says, divestors sound like separatists who know when to ignore some women to conserve energy. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's a very important skill.
Yeah.
It's a
Zay
hard one
says,
skill.
neutral, women should be able to explore different ideologies and theories and such. And I don't think misandry is real.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think that, I've said this before, but we all come to this because we're open-minded. If we're closed-minded, we're just never going to get to radical feminism in the first place. And so a lot of us keep that open mind and we keep going and we explore different things. And some of us find our way to more extremist,
Quote unquote
type
extremist.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I think there's a lot of value in that because it could be from the more extremist view that maybe we take bits and pieces of that and I don't want to say water it down, but like find ways we can incorporate that into more mainstream radical feminist thinking. Oh, expired milk says divestors are more in line with FDS. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah, I'd never heard that term before yesterday, and I had to look it up. So it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to look into more. Okay. Recent trends of women in the West moving away from mainstream feminism means more women are moving towards radical or radical leaning beliefs, conservative beliefs, neither, or they're the same beliefs but different labels.
Hold on. I have to read this again. Recent trends
I
of
know.
women in the West is like a confusing question. Moving away from
Yes.
mainstream. They mean like liberal feminism?
Yeah, so I've just copied the text exactly as it is pretty much, and so it might be a little bit
Oh,
confusing, but
yeah.
that's the OP's wording, not mine.
No,
So
right,
I
right,
think
right.
she is saying that there are recent trends of women moving away from feminism, and
Mhm.
where are they going? Towards more radical, to more
Okay.
conservative, or what?
I voted for same beliefs, different labels, but I think conservative also.
I said conservative beliefs. I've seen it. I mean, if you think of some
Mm,
feminists out there,
right.
former feminists out there,
Mhm.
um, they're all more right wing and conservative these days.
Very true. Well, like like Ariel Scarcella is a good example because I think
Right.
she was, kind
Very
of
lefty Democrat.
lefty Democrat, kind of lib femme, and she went like
Yeah, now she's
hard
like a
Trump.
MAGA hat wearing Republican.
Right. I don't know if that's for attention or like kind of a Dylan Mulvaney vibe or something, just like seeking out whatever is going to get you the most attention. People do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. I don't know. That's a really interesting question. What's the chat saying?
A lot. It's going quickly.
Uh,
So Zeze says, I think some women are becoming politically homeless in a way.
mhm,
15th Jessica says, I think some are going rad leaning while others go conservative leaning to deal with the issues of liberal feminism.
mhm,
Nana, sorry, not Nina. Nana thinks there is a trend, or says there's a trend of women moving away from lib fem. She disagrees with that. If there is, then it would be both.
mhm.
Uh, Conservative and radical feminism are not the same. Very true.
Do you think radical feminism is growing?
Uh, Not really,
Like
but I
you've been in
think
it longer than I have. But yeah, like okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You've been in it longer than I have. That's what I wanted to say.
I think some radical feminist ideas are perhaps growing, like when it comes to gender stuff and sexism and trans stuff. But I don't think that equates to radical feminism growing as a whole, because a lot of the women who are embracing some of these ideas in like regards to the gender stuff, they wouldn't embrace other tenets of radical feminism. So I don't think radical feminism as a whole is growing, but some pieces might be.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I haven't even been in that long, like for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting, like you and I have been talking about this recently, like seeing women, and we've talked about this for a long time too, but seeing women who like someone called them turf because they have like
Yeah.
gender critical beliefs. And so they think that they're a radical feminist.
Right. Yeah, because the acronym TERF, it's
Right.
trans inclusionary radical feminist, so they think, okay, then I am a radical feminist. And it's like, no, no, no. Just because you dislike trans people, that does not make you a radical feminist.
Right. And that was actually how I got here too.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of don't, I'm not like mad at that pipeline or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got called turf, I I didn't know what radical feminism was. I just knew I was like gender critical and
Yeah.
whatever. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about radical feminism. So then I'm like, radical feminism, okay. Then I looked it up and I started reading. It wasn't like I was like, oh, whatever I believe at this moment in time is what radical feminism is.
Right.
Right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when I first came to gender critical, I still believed porn was empowering. I was
Right.
very lib fem beliefs. I thought makeup and femininity and stuff were empowering. And so I discovered it much the way these women that were sort of critical of have discovered it, but like and I'm sure that's very common and many but like you have to just keep going and do the work of like
Yeah.
learning what it
For
actually
sure.
is.
I think this comment from 15th Jessica is so on the nose. She says, it may look like radical feminism is growing, but there's the issue of radical feminism versus gender critical versus trans critical label and the turf misnomer. So, right, it might look like the movement is growing, but I would say a majority of those women are just gender/trans critical and not
Yeah,
radical feminist.
the gender critical, trans critical thing is like, I don't want to say it's like almost a problem at this point, but it's like it just has nothing to do with radical feminism at this point.
Right.
In fact, I sent you this a while ago, but it was some guy had made a video and it was about pronouns, and he said the video was called something like what the gender critical right or what gender critical conservatives get wrong or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like insane, because 5 years ago gender critical was all 100% like leftist women
Right. But not
and
anymore.
liberal women or whatever progressives.
Yeah.
And so to see like some normie, basically this guy was a normie, he was like a linguist, and he was making a video about pronouns, and it was called like what the gender critical right get wrong about pronouns. It's like, oh my God, that just blew my mind, actually,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I actually commented on Runaway Siren's video today
Oh, good.
to ask her if she would maybe talk about that, because I mean, she's just been making videos left and
I
right
know,
lately,
she's
which is
great.
amazing.
We love her.
Yeah. But it's something I feel so strongly about, and I've talked about many times, and we've talked about, you and I,
Mm-hmm.
that the intermingling of feminists with conservatives
Right.
has not been a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's some good comments here. Nana says gender critical conservatives don't exist, only transgender critical conservatives.
Yep, very good point.
And then Green Emerald says people will call any woman who disagrees with trans stuff a radfem or a turf, no matter if she's a feminist or not. That's exactly right.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Wait, Nana says she hung out with Siren a few weeks ago?
Yeah, my understanding is Siren is in like Cambodia or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's
Wow,
great.
that's really cool.
We like her a lot on this channel.
Yeah,
On
we
our
do.
channels. Yep. Very cool.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's been my feeling about like endorsing other women and stuff like
Doesn't always go well.
right. So I'm like very hesitant to do that, but I feel like I've watched enough of her stuff now at this point to be like, I think she's a real one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She is. Okay, next question. Extremist beliefs such as separatism, anti-birth, or anti-male birth are damaging the movement. Agree, disagree, see it both ways, or no opinion?
Disagree strongly.
I disagree as well.
Yeah, they're sort of niche things within. They're like ideas, to explore within the thing. They are, I guess, extremist, but again, like I said earlier, it's maybe those are things we can think about, talk about, do thought experiments about, live in our own lives to one degree or another, and then take bits and pieces of that and how can we incorporate this in a more mainstream way that benefits all women,
Yeah. Wow, everybody is in line with us. And Moon Moon says, I wish they weren't niche.
Yeah. You've encountered some women who thought the antinatalism thing is weird.
Yeah, I have. And yeah. But I'm antinatalist for more than just feminist reasons. For
Definitely.
like climate reasons, for the future reasons, and for reasons in favor of children. Like, I don't think it's fair to potential future children to bring them onto this dying planet, and what
Right.
are they going to inherit? Like, I think
Exactly.
of my best friend's child who is 4, like, when she's my age, 35, like, what is the world going to be?
Mhm.
So it's not just like a feminist or a pro-woman reason that I'm antinatalist. It also has to do with climate activism and with consideration for the world and the earth that children will inherit. There's lots of reasons to be antinatalist in this day and age. And it's not because we hate children and think that they're disgusting and evil and bad.
I do hate children, but you're welcome to love children. I don't have any problem with people loving children. I personally don't. I find them really annoying and disgusting, and I want to be the voice for women who agree with that. Because you do get like, I think that a lot of people actually do. A lot of women feel that way, but then like if you actually say that, you're just like an evil witch, you know.
Right, yeah.
So, um, it's cool. Like if you think they're cute too, like that's actually. I mean, I like see a baby once in a while. I saw an interview. Robert De Niro. I don't know if you heard about this. He's married. I don't know if he's married to her. He has a baby mama who's like in her 30s. He's 79.
Wait,
Did
I
you know
don't think
about
it's
this?
Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, it is.
he and his longtime wife just recently-ish split up?
Well, he has a child, just recently had a child with a woman who she's like a martial artist. I think she's Chinese. Don't come for me.
Are you sure it's De Niro?
Do Google it.
I am. You baby.
And so
Oh,
this
you're
it was a
right.
really
I
good it was a really good interview too. It was like CBS News or something. And she had Bell's palsy as a result of giving birth, which apparently is not that uncommon. And so she
Whoa.
lost all like muscle control in her face,
Yeah.
which is like super messed up. And then like the interview was about how like he was so supportive of her during that, like like the default is like that he wouldn't be, you know?
Right. Like, oh, yeah, men get praised for the bare fucking minimum.
Yeah. But my point of that story was they showed the baby and it was like the cutest baby ever.
Oh,
And
okay.
even me, a baby hater was like, "Oh, that's the cutest baby ever." So
Aw.
yes, there's like but um I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is cute.
Yeah, like little chubby cheek
Yeah.
baby. Um but yeah, what was my point? No, all your reasons for being antinatalist are really, really good. And then like
Mhm.
on top of that, it is really bad and really oppressive for women. It's so dangerous. It's so damaging to your body. It's the
Yeah, it's
most
a risky
dangerous
time of
time
life for women. Yeah.
physically for a woman. Yeah, everything that could go wrong. So there are definitely like straight up pure feminist reasons. And then they're like, even if you're
Yeah.
not a feminist, I think
Also,
yeah,
what's the number one cause of death in pregnant women?
well, let's ask the chat. Who in the chat knows? Number one, quiz time.
What's the
Number
number
one
one cause of death
cause
in a
of death.
pregnant woman? Anyone know? Let's see. Sometimes I think the chat lags a little and then it all pops up at once.
Well, what I was going to say is I think
There
yeah,
we go. Just
that's
popped
it.
up.
Yep.
Ding, ding,
Got more.
ding. Murder.
Yay. Wild. Um I was going to say like the sort of the classic antinatalist, what I think of as like the reason is like, children don't ask to be born, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
non-consensual bringing a human into this world, is you can never get their consent to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't know if they're going to like being alive or not. So
Yeah.
it's like something you do to another person without their consent.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Yeah. The results of that question, too, like the majority, 50%, disagreed that these are damaging to the radical feminist movement.
But then,
So,
again, 1/5 of women
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who voted. It was 1,700 votes, though. That's got to be a good chunk of
Yeah.
Lily.
And yeah. Yeah, this 23% that agree, yeah.
Well, we've been at the receiving end of a lot of this shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, they're extremists.
Okay. You can click the X and never hear anything I have to say again. It's
Exactly.
perfectly
And
fine.
I do it to other people all the time.
Right.
And it's not about and then of course people are like, "Oh, you're creating an echo chamber or whatever." It's like good because I need it to be echoey in here so these very like niche ideas that we have can be amplified as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We don't
Yep.
need a lot of extraneous noise.
That's right. Whoops. Okay. It's insane we have to pay to live on a planet we didn't even ask to be on.
And that is very true.
I know.
Very, very, very
Yay,
true.
capitalism.
Yay.
Okay, next question. You can wear makeup, shave, etc., and still be a radical feminist. So it doesn't matter. You can. It depends on context, or if you can, you shouldn't. These are the options that the OP put up.
Yeah, again, I think you and I already discussed this sort of a weirdly
Yeah.
worded question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what did you let's see.
Interesting. Abby
I
says
don't
no.
think
Gigi says no.
but no is not a no
I
is
know.
not an
It's not one of the choices
answer.
that she provided us.
So that's kind of
So
an issue
should
with
be no.
this. Right.
If you can, you shouldn't. Um,
Is that what you answered?
depends. If you're acting in a play and need face paint, that couldn't be anti-radfem because it's a tool.
Mhm.
So would say, I would say if you can, you shouldn't. Like, uh, yeah, I mean, I would encourage women not to participate in harmful beauty practices, but a woman who um, does that mean she can't be a radical feminist if she does wear makeup? I mean, probably not.
I think she can be on the journey.
Yeah.
I think different topic, but we've been talking about this too, that if a woman calls herself a radical feminist, that's what I'm going to call her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is like basically a totally different topic than this. So, I said depends on context, which is kind of probably a surprising answer for me because I'm very
Yeah.
hardline on makeup. But I've also talked about this that I think like my I guess expectation, if I even have one, for other women
Mm-hmm.
who want to be in this realm, and maybe I shouldn't have any expectations for other women, whatever, but would be to be working on it.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
and I've said this many, many times. If you're using 10 products in the morning in your routine, take it down to 8. Get used to seeing
Right.
yourself with 8 products on. Take it down to 6, because
Yeah.
ultimately what we want to get away from is giving our money to misogynists, because
Mm-hmm.
that should be the heart of radical feminist praxis, if anything, is not
Yeah.
giving our money to people who market makeup towards 6-year-old girls, who tell
Mm-hmm.
older women that they're ugly and worthless. These companies are all run by men. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I also agree with the third choice.
Me too. Tori says, if your values truly align with radical feminism, your actions should naturally start to follow, even though it may not be easy at first. Yeah, and I think we say this all the time. Like, you have to practice, you have to
It's
do
work.
it. Yeah.
Again, yeah, I know. I feel like we're broken records on this stuff, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it is important to hammer it home. Like, when I stopped wearing makeup, first of all, I went down to a very minimalist routine of like 4 or 5 products. And
Yeah.
then, but when I totally stopped, every time I looked in the mirror, like, washing my hands in the bathroom or whatever,
Yeah.
like I didn't feel good about my face for like a year. And I had to push through that and fight through
Mm-hmm.
that to get to that
Yeah.
point where I finally was able to look at myself and be like, nothing's missing. My face
Mm-hmm.
is just totally fine as it
Nothing's
is, and I
wrong.
can go outside. I don't have to put anything on my face, so it's
Yeah.
work. Yeah, for sure. But it's like, that's the work we should be doing. We should be,
Right.
you know, it is radical feminism, right? Just giving your money to misogynists is just not compatible with that.
I agree completely. And there's like there is no justification for doing that. I think a lot of women will try to come up with all kinds of reasons, and they're on their own journey. But yeah, giving your money to misogynist, capitalistic organizations who exploit young girls in Micah mines, like
Yeah,
it's not feminist in any way at all.
no.
Is
Hmm.
supremely anti-feminist, and if you do still participate or want to participate, quote unquote want to, okay, but there's no there's just no compatibility with feminism in that regard.
Yep. Yeah, and
Yep.
again, it's like, be on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all we ask of you, is just open your eyes. That's the first thing you have to do. Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of these women, it's like as soon as this topic comes up, they just like they shut down, like
Completely.
a hurdle or something. Like, they
Yeah.
close their ears, they close their eyes, they don't want to hear about it. They're so, and because we all of us, including you, Radical, and including me, we've all been conditioned to believe that our only value to society,
Right.
that's the only value we have, is to be a visually pleasurable object
Yeah.
for other people's enjoyment. And so it's like these women, why they like hold on to it so hard is because they see us saying, well, then you have no value.
Right. Oh my
That's
god,
why
that's so true.
it's like a life or death thing for them, why they fight for it so hard. Because
Yeah.
you say it all the time, they fight us more on this than
Than
anything else,
anything else.
because it's the core of their value and like their worth as a
Mm-hmm.
human.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a human, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Depends on being beautiful. If you can't be beautiful, then you might as well be dead.
Yeah, you got nothing. Until you start realizing by practicing not participating in that crap that is not
Right.
true.
It's not true at all.
Yeah.
That's and like we do all this and say all this out of a place of compassion and like wanting
Yes.
women
Better
to
for
know
women.
that they're more than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, "Oh, you're such a meanie gatekeeper," or whatever. It's like, "No, I want you to realize that that's not where your value lies."
Yeah.
It's
What's that
literally the
quote?
opposite of being mean and gatekeeping. It's like, "I want you to be included in this world of liberation, but you can't be included in this world of liberation while you're still wearing chains. I want you to take
Hmm.
your chains off."
Yes, that quote is beauty isn't the price we pay to exist in the world. Like,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
not it's not a tax we pay for being born in a female body.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
I'll never get tired of those conversations about makeup either.
I know. I know. I've had people say to me in my comments, like, can you talk about something else, please? And it's like, the that you don't want to hear it anymore is reason enough for me to believe it still needs to be said.
Yeah, and I think it is so wrapped up in the heart of our whole existence as feminists, which is like to argue that we are humans and not objects. what is more
Yeah.
representative of that than having to put on a mask every time you leave the house
In
to exist in
public.
a space where men don't have to wear a mask, but you do?
Yeah.
Because you're an object, you're not a human. So anyways.
Yeah. Next question. Oh, wait a second. I just like how the convo about makeup always brings up that, what about, like, use your common sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Very good.
They want to take down patriarchy, but they want to look pretty first. That's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Feminism in general, especially previous generations, had issues with ignoring or being uncaring toward the plights of women of color.
Oh.
Yes, definitely agree.
Yeah, I said agree.
Yeah.
That's like, again, that's sort of
Duh.
just true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just a factual statement. Lots
Well,
of
in fact,
agreeing in the
like
chat.
first wave feminism, they like straight up excluded Black
Yes.
women.
Well, right, and
Or there were
suffragettes
factions that, yeah.
were going for the vote because Black men were getting the vote, so we should too. Like,
Right.
okay. Yes,
Yeah.
this is just a fact. There's not really a lot of discussion to be had here. Yes, very true.
I noticed that you skipped a question.
Oh, because I think it was, what was it? There was one I
Um,
did skip that was not really like, I didn't think it was really relevant or something.
maybe it's a little like too. Well, it was some accounts on here are here to play out mean girl
Oh,
fantasies
yeah, I left that one out because like it was specific
to
to the
Twitter.
Twitter world.
Yeah.
So I didn't include that one because
I
it
mean, I
was about
definitely would
Twitter.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So yeah, here's the results of that. 86% agree.
Yeah. Again, it's just that's sort of a fact. It's
Yeah.
not like it'd be interesting to hear from people who disagree.
Honestly, how could you disagree?
Yeah, that's just it's not really an opinion thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wait, even at the beginning stages with first wave, there was much segregation and exclusion. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Zay says Black women, we weren't even considered. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't I a woman?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It is beneficial for women of all backgrounds to absorb and believe in some form of radical feminist theory, even if they continue to do certain behaviors. I think this is also just a factual statement.
Yeah, I mean, I would say agree. That's sort of what we were just talking about before.
Yeah.
Like, it's like being on the journey, you know?
Yep. It is beneficial. The results, yeah, 89% agree. Interesting, the 5% disagree. Okay. Not sure what.
I just want to revisit that history of racism and stuff for a second because I just thought of something like,
Oh, sure.
You know, people will use that to say that feminism today is still racist. And that was a question we discussed earlier of whether it's present in some of those like online spaces or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, radical feminism is itself, as you pointed out, not racist inherently, or it's anti-racist, but people who are
Yeah, your mileage
critical,
may vary.
yeah, people who are critical of radical feminism and just want to say bad stuff about it will say, "Oh, look at the history of feminism. It's always been racist. It always will be racist." You know, so
Here's
I
a
think,
comment. Sick of it. A lot of us divestors, so she is a divester. I'm still healing from, I think that means white women, I think. But no, we have to get over it and continue moving. I'm so glad there's someone in here who identifies as a divester because that was, like I said earlier, a word that I had never encountered before and I had to look it up. And now here is somebody in the chat who identifies that way. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also interested in that. Like, I'm still healing from white women. Like, I'm interested in that perspective because I'm always like, well, what can I be doing better? You know, or like, but even that, it's like I've spent so much time in like these online liberal spaces where it's like I'm even paranoid to say something like that and be perceived as racist because people will be like, well, it's not about you, it's not about feeling good or something, you know. But it's like, well, I like, how do I genuinely be like an ally, you know, to Black women or to lesbians or whatever? It's like, yeah, it's not about me, but I do want to do whatever I can. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I'm just trying to reply to Lily in the chat because she's asking
Yeah.
about what divester means. There's a link to the Urban Dictionary.
So like when a woman comes in here and says I'm healing from white women, like I'm like, well, what happened that you need to heal from it? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's me being like an ignorant or something, but
Yeah,
like
I mean, we don't
obviously
know
I'm
what we
aware.
don't know, right?
Exactly. I'm aware racism exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want
Always.
it to. It's like
Yeah,
I think we would
obviously.
be much better off if it didn't. So I don't know. I think like at the just listening,
Okay.
the minimum.
So she says, sick of it says, it's not all. It's more so the older ones at work and school. It's definitely getting better. The flight or fight they put me in is crazy. I don't know. I'm in the South.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry
Yeah.
to hear that this is your experience.
Mm.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But
Definitely
we're
extending some sympathy, empathy to you.
yes. And always interested in like hearing what any women have to say. Because again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and our spaces are always open for venting and
Yes.
that kind of thing, for sure.
Solidarity for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next one. It is impossible to be a radical feminist while choosing to have a boyfriend, male friends, etc.
Right.
Agree, disagree,
On
or see it both ways.
this topic on Twitter, wow. This
The
it's
war
been
zone.
eye-opening. Dude, I've been sending you I've been on Twitter for like 3 or 4 days. I've been sending
I
you all
know.
these tweets. Like, it's just totally mind-blowing because I don't know, I feel like we just never even really talk about this stuff. Well, you're a lesbian, so like it's
Yeah.
but you actually have talked about this quite a bit too. Um, which is essentially a form of separatism, or you could call it going your own way or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
that's how, I used to refer to myself as a separatist. I don't. I see a huge trend also of women being like, oh, I used to refer to myself as a radical feminist. Now I just call myself rad leaning because I'm not doing everything perfectly. And I'm like, oh my God, can we please get away from that? Just be a radical feminist. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to say you're rad leaning. Like, you're a radical feminist, you're on the journey. Like, I'm totally okay with being a little more expansive of that so women don't feel like so excluded. Again, it's not a club or whatever. What was my point? I don't
Your
know.
audio was weird for a second, but it
Oh.
sounds fine now.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know.
Oh, no, it sounds fine now, but it was breaking up.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no. You just always want to know, so we're looking out for
No,
you.
no, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, my internet kind of sucks. That's might be
Okay,
part of
no
it.
worries. You sound fine now, so it's all good.
So yeah, I guess I was saying like let's see. I like how the question mentions choosing because not all relationships with men are choices, unfortunately. That's, yes.
That is true.
Well, and I said, we talked about this topic a little bit earlier, but the difference between, say, being married and then coming to radical feminism
Right.
and these ideas that you've never heard before, you don't have to like get a divorce and you can fully like be a radical feminist.
Yeah.
Like, but say you're not married or dating somebody and you come to these ideas, maybe you
Yeah, it's
would,
hard to imagine that you could just be like, well, time to get a boyfriend now.
yeah, exactly. Like, what are you going to go on like Tinder or something? You know what I mean? Like, how? It takes away your like naivete about stuff, I think. But oh yeah, so what I was saying before when if my audio wasn't good, just to reiterate that point was like that oh yeah, like this trend of women saying I'm not I used to call myself a radical feminist, but now I just call myself rad leaning because I'm not doing everything perfectly.
Yeah.
And like I think we should get away from that and just accept that radical feminists don't always have to be 100% perfect
Of
all the
course.
time.
Of course.
And like personally, I used to call myself a separatist, and I got a lot of shit for it because I like live with my dad. So they're
Yeah.
like, well, but I always used it to refer to just like I'm not gonna date anybody,
Not
I
putting
don't.
your energy really into like
Yeah,
building new connections with men or
exactly. Like, right. I'm not forging any new friendships. I'm celibate, But and you and I have talked about also like separatism can even be sororities or having your own bathrooms or whatever, where
yeah.
it's like there's going to be a lot of het partnered women in those spaces, and they are still separatist spaces technically.
Mhm. Mhm.
So separatism to me is like very cloudy, but I still don't use that term to describe myself anymore. I would just say WGTOW, going my own way.
Yep. 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 Yep.
But I think I said, um, see it both ways or in the middle.
Yeah, same.
So, because
However, the majority said they agree.
yeah, it's pretty split though. Like I
Yeah,
feel like I said,
it's
it's like
close.
nuanced. Like again, if you already were married or had a boyfriend and came to these ideas, and then they opened your eyes, and you're like, well, how maybe I can apply that to the relationship I'm in,
Right.
and make sure that I'm not being like acting out oppression within my relationship or whatever. Like, which I personally think is really difficult, but
Yes.
but again, if you found these ideas while you're single, then maybe you would be more actively just trying to stay single.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Tori said, I hate I think she means defensiveness separatism gets in radical feminist spaces, meant for radical action. Like women freak out when you mention separatism.
right. Yes.
You just want me to never be
Right.
happy or in love. It's like, no, that's not what anyone is ever saying.
It's more like, how can you see this stuff and then, I don't want to sound hypocritical because we know what happened to me, but,
Okay.
you know, like, anyways,
Okay.
dead air.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
BDSM or sex work or porn is completely antithetical to feminism in all forms. Agree, disagree, in the middle, or neutral, which I think is the same as in the middle.
This is another, like, just a factual one.
Yeah.
Agree.
Agree.
It's just per se, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone is agreeing. Whoa. Agree. Yeah, duh.
Oh, I want to
Yeah.
say C's comment. I feel like male friends and being partnered with males are different levels, and that's how I've always seen it too. Male
Mm,
friends can be kept at a greater distance or dropped more easily depending on the situation. I agree. Like, I have male friends in real life, but one of
mm-hmm.
them I haven't seen in like since before COVID. We just talk
Mm-hmm.
on the computer or whatever. And one of them I see like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's so much different than if you like, I don't know. Anyways, whatever. But
Yeah.
then people would still say, "Oh, that's not separatist," whatever. And I don't care. I don't care. It's
Yeah.
not like that's another thing. I think we should not be so precious with labels for ourselves because I
Mm,
just feel like that's almost mirroring the like gender crowd and stuff. Like, it's too identity politics to be,
yeah, fair enough.
I really don't care what anyone, if someone disagrees that I'm a radfem, like, I don't care. I'm never gonna get
Yes.
into a fight with somebody about that or anything. Like, fine, I don't care.
Moon says, I think that's a good point. I have male acquaintances and we chat over a beer, but they know nothing substantial about me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't have any male friends. I have I guess, I don't know if we're still friends or not. Um, but he lives in Australia, so, you know,
Yeah.
and we talk maybe, we text like, happy birthday, happy new year.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, but
I have a
yeah,
few of those too.
but he's the only male who's quote unquote in my life, but he lives on a different continent, so it's not really. Woo, my footstool just squeaked. Sorry.
Thought you were like murdering the dog or something.
No, it's like adjustable
Um,
and it just grinded. Sorry.
that's okay. I what was I gonna say? And of course we're gonna interact with men at work,
Of course.
at in stores and public and stuff. Like, it's very hard to get away from any of that. So, jump scare.
Such a, it's like adjustable, and I moved my foot and it went. Sorry. Yeah. Moon says, my standards are too high, and I'm grateful it kept me from dating.
Yeah, that's another thing. I actually kind of want to make a video about this, just add it to the pile, right? Um, like, it in 2023, how the hell
Yeah.
do you date? I don't mean like where do you find men or like that kind of thing. I mean, all men watch porn. They're all like, they all watch it or they've seen it. A lot of them are like addicted to it.
Ugh,
So how can you how can
I
you
don't
date
know.
men knowing that, knowing what they know, knowing what they've seen?
Yeah.
How do you respect them? Like, you can't. How do you trust them? You can't. That's what relationships are built on, trust and respect. So how could you
Mm-hmm.
go, especially like young women? It's so much worse for young women too. Maybe not my generation. I still think um or our generation, you're a little younger than me, but basically 90s kids. Um like, it's not as bad for us, but say like 18 to 20-year-old now
Mm-hmm.
grew up online.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even trust a 40-year-old or a 45-year-old guy. Like,
No.
they're all like perverts too.
Yeah, and it's like the 40 and 50 and 6-year-old dudes who are getting into the freaking sissy fetish shit and
Right.
becoming trans because of it. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
gross.
Exactly. So like, how ugh, how could
Oh,
you
yeah.
connect with a man knowing that?
Sick of It says, it used to make my heart hurt to think the male I would be with would watch porn and I just need to get over it. Yeah, and there's so much pressure on women to just be like the cool girl who's like okay with it and
Yeah.
it's no big deal, which is insane to me. that women are supposed to be fine with their male partners jerking off to porn. Like,
Right.
how is that a mainstream idea that that should just be fine and okay to do
I
when you're in a relationship with a woman? I mean, in general, obviously, but
I feel like it was like maybe Gail Dines who said like that it's like the biggest public health crisis we're facing right now or something.
yeah.
Just knowing that men watch that stuff and not even men you might date, but like just men you interact with like at the
Yes.
supermarket or whatever.
Right.
Like
Ugh.
the guy who's like checking out your groceries like watched porn that morning and probably like really degrading stuff.
Mhm. Yeah.
That is such a perfect comment.
Male presence is a form of oppression at this point. Everything they've done collectively means we have to always be on edge when they're around.
I totally agree.
Yep.
I totally agree. I and when I've really been deep into like reading about this stuff and talking about it and in radical feminist spaces and stuff, even when I pass a man on the street, I sort of like walk quicker,
Mm,
because it just I lose any trust for being even within any proximity of a stranger man.
yeah.
Although, yes, I know that it's the ones who are close to you are most likely to whatever. But you know what I mean?
Oh,
I
yeah.
still get like stranger danger really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh. Love
Yeah,
being a woman on this earth.
15th Jessica's comment.
The guy who bagged your groceries will probably go home and search for porn of a woman who looked like his least favorite customer that day getting brutalized. Ugh. Even when a man looks at
Yes.
me, no, keep your eyes away. Yeah.
I know. Well, like just think about being able to go out into the world without men looking at you and like just I invite everyone to meditate on that at some point. Like literally just close your eyes and like imagine what that would feel like to be in a world where like you are guaranteed you're not going to come across a man or have them look at you or anything.
It's hard
Like
to
what a
imagine.
like blissful feeling that would be
No
though.
kidding. No kidding.
That's like the power of separatist spaces.
Yes.
I was talking about that, I think, in my stream last week of just like being in a yoga class with all women or like being in a locker room with all women,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, oh, it's such a relief.
This is why so many women in the earlier
Yes.
poll voted to off 90 to 100% of men.
Right.
um, it's being in a constant state of vigilance. It's probably one of the reasons why women have so many more cases of autoimmune diseases, constant stress.
That's a great comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, constant like self-consciousness, that quote about how we see ourselves, like there's a man inside our brains, and
Yeah.
we're not seeing the world as ourselves, we're seeing a third person view of ourselves move through the world.
Mm-hmm. Separation equals liberation.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. There is solidarity to be found in or with right-wing, aristocratic, or bourgeois women. Agree, disagree, or neutral?
This is such a great jumping off point for conversation, this one.
Uh-huh.
I really would love to hear what women in the chat have to say about
Me too.
this.
Gigi says, whoops, no.
What did you say?
I said, it's hard because we've got right wing lumped in with like wealthy women.
Oh, true.
I mean, I disagree though. Like you and I both are very strongly on the fence that right wing alliances are not the way forward, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I actually said neutral, and I
Okay.
know I am very you're right. When it comes to like political alliances and stuff, like the gender critical thing has
Yeah.
gotten to, we've already discussed that today of, you know, what an issue that's been, getting that now gender critical is seen as a right wing issue. That's
Yeah.
a huge problem for us. That's a massive,
Mhm.
massive, massive problem for us as leftists. Um, but I said neutral because I think, yes, exactly. Like Clementine Naya says, we are all women first
Yeah.
and foremost. So there is a solidarity there. Anything
This is good
feminists
though.
do, okay.
Needs solidarity to be defined in this case.
Maybe
Like
I'm just not
solidarity, I
ready to do
suppose,
that.
yes,
Yeah,
solidarity. Um, alliance, I don't know.
right. What I was going to say, okay, so I was going to follow up that idea of solidarity with saying that anything
Okay.
that feminists do does benefit right wing and bourgeois
Yep.
women. Um, and like someone else in the chat said, that they also do experience misogyny,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even worse. I don't know.
Solid Caesar says, no. In my early childhood, I grew up with those higher class women and they view working class women as tools.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Virtual Cabbage says, not really. I would like to, but considering that right wing women can be racist and homophobic, there's no reason for me to be. Plus, they
Mm-hmm.
usually center the men in their lives no matter what.
Yeah, I made that community post the other day about that one gal who's just apparently she hosts like a live Twitter thing or something too about ask, and it's called Ask a Radical Feminist or Ask a Radfem or
Right.
something like that. Even though she was like literally like, yeah, radical feminism has room for pro-life
And
women.
pride in
What?
your heritage, aka
Yeah,
like
that
white
white,
nationalism.
right, exactly. What?
What? No, it does not. No, it does not.
And you know, and then she's making the argument that feminists fought so women could be traditional housewives.
I
Like,
know.
I don't remember that. I don't remember a time when we couldn't be traditional housewives.
So Abby says, I don't really think it's radical feminism to say all women are included except blank women. However, all their opinions aren't included.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it.
this is
Um,
good. This is where we have to weigh whether or not selfishness is better than demanding reciprocity.
selflessness.
Selflessness, sorry. I can read, I promise.
What
Oh,
what
yeah,
does that
for
mean
that time
though?
when women were prevented from being trad
Yeah,
wives.
exactly. What is that comment? What do you
So
think that
I
means?
think Gigi is saying um, we have to decide whether us being selfless and being there for these women we supremely disagree with is something we can do and know that we're not going to get the same respect and consideration in return,
Right.
is
That's
what I
why I
think
think
she is saying.
we keep fighting our fight,
Mm-hmm.
and they are welcome to benefit from it, but definitely not going to incorporate those
Yeah.
ideas. And that post that I shared about like including, like her thought was, well, the whole point of radical feminism is to include every woman's opinion no matter what it is, like again, whether she's pro-choice or pro-life, they're all included. That actually sounds more like that feminism thing that we read about.
Yep.
Because that's what they were saying, is like, oh, well, all women are included in feminism, which is um you know, like pro-life women, pro-choice women. It's like, well, that's, but pro-life is actually anti-feminist,
I
you know.
know.
So,
Well,
and
and like
it's anti-woman. Yeah.
Lepto says, um, I see these women trying to infiltrate radical feminist spaces, trying to get an ideological foot in the door with anti abortion stances.
Right. Yeah, and that's the
Um,
danger too of letting them get the foot in the door there.
right. And she says feminist goals benefit right-wing women incidentally without us having to tolerate their anti-feminism.
Right. Definitely. And you and I have like firsthand encountered. Yeah.
It's like we're zookeepers. Other women could come and volunteer or train to be zookeepers, but hell no, are we going to let her run the lion enclosure?
So we're not gatekeepers, we're zookeepers.
Right.
I like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's like, well, again, that idea of gatekeeping, it's like, oh, you're gatekeeping like pro-life as an idea from radical feminism. It's like, yeah, some things should be gatekept.
Mm-hmm.
Some things should be excluded.
I agree.
Like anti-feminism should definitely be excluded from feminism.
Yes. I know.
You can't include everything. Can't include like, I mean, should we start making videos about how we love Andrew Tate or something? Just
Ugh.
to be inclusive, you know? How about that Pearly woman? She's a right wing.
Right.
She's an MRA. You know, do
Mhm.
we include that? No. Exactly. Choice
Yeah.
feminism.
Irene says she'll handle the penguins. Okay, and then what were the results on this one? The majority disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said disagree, yeah.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Asking heterosexual radical feminists to be separatists is celibacy and unfair, common sense and justified, it should be their choice, or see both sides.
Well, I want to hear what the chat says. I'm enjoying expired milk says Andrew Tate equals Bay. Love that.
So Irene says it's common sense. Oh, everyone says it's common sense. Justified. Well, I think you, as a heterosexual woman who chooses
Mhm.
a separatist lifestyle, is
Yeah.
appropriate to answer or to discuss this one.
I mean, it's a topic you've talked about a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is another one. Well, we've already talked about a similar, we've kind of like
Yeah.
already touched on a lot of this topic already, but
Yep.
it's another one where immediately I think it's a little weirdly worded that like
Yeah.
that first response, it's celibacy slash unfair. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that's a weird way of putting that. I answered, you're all gonna be shocked. Should be their choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that once you really get into radical feminism, you are naturally going to choose separatism
Right.
as far as relationships go. You know, again, we talked about that separatism could be lots of different things, but if she's talking about choosing celibacy,
Right.
you know, or choosing going your own way.
Yeah.
So my opinion is it should be their choice, but their choice would naturally be to choose to go their own way.
Yeah, you would hope.
Like once you've been presented with that choice, it's just going to be superior to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So
Expired milk says it's common sense, though I wouldn't say I ask het women to be separatists. It's more like it is common sense to be separatists, so do with that what you will.
exactly, it's like, okay, now we presented her with this information that she can see that this is a much better option, and you know, that's what she's naturally going to choose.
Mm-hmm. Ritual Cabbage says, I think it should be your choice because I wouldn't want to isolate people that won't, but I will say it is a great benefit to their daily life and safety, and I commend straight women that do.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. Yep, Leptoceratops, that's a great comment too. Sick of it I think a lot of het women don't know the statistics and facts about males. Once I found out, I couldn't unsee it. That's
Yeah.
it. I think because of the internet, even more normie women are learning about a lot of this stuff without even having to find radical feminism. They're seeing it in FDS and they're seeing it in those kind of like, you know, that kind of stuff where it's not even radical feminism, but like it's out there, the truth about males. They're seeing Andrew Tate, you know, I mean, it's like normie women come across that stuff and they're like, what the hell? This is how men really are, you know? So
yeah. Let's see what the results were. Yeah, pretty much I think what everyone in here was saying.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, so this is one where it's sort of the wording is weird because it's like, yeah, I guess common sense / justified makes sense too, but like it's almost like should be their choice / common sense. You know what I mean? That's yeah. And again, it's not asking because radical feminism doesn't have requirements for membership. So there aren't like steps that you have to take to be a radical feminist.
Right.
It's like this is a framework of analysis and it's a movement, if you want to think of it that way, for liberation. Or it's a tool for individual liberation. By the way, Joan of Arc made a video today about whether I guess some people, I don't know, because I don't like follow radical feminist stuff really, but apparently some people have been saying like making a criticism that women use radical feminism as a self-help tool. And I'm like, why shouldn't they?
Right.
That should be its primary. That should be its primary use. And then, you know, further as a movement, like she said, putting your oxygen mask on first. It's like we should all do the work for ourselves first. And, you know, I'm like, I commented on her thing. I'm like, I'm really surprised anyone, like, I don't get what the criticism is of using it as a self-help tool. That seems like a very good thing to me.
Yeah, that's very weird.
So, yeah.
Very weird. How many more? We got a few more of these, honestly.
Okay, we're having a great discussion, I think.
Yeah, as long as you're okay with the time and stuff, like, there's more to go. Okay.
It's a very long thread, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good, because, yeah, I'm down. Okay, next question. Any woman who doesn't identify with feminism is likely hiding some form of internalized misogyny or other biases. Agree, disagree, both sides, neither.
Lily says, oops, I used radical feminism wrong.
Gigi agrees. Yeah, I think women who are anti-feminist or don't identify themselves as a feminist, like there's got to be something going on there, right?
Yeah, and I said agree, and the maybe you can switch to the results, because this is another one where I think it's almost like just a truth.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a fact. So like the ones where I think it's a fact, it's like they were really overwhelmingly one answer. You know, like remember how I used to do those polls on my channel that were I'd give like five or 4 chances for you to like disagree with it, and then like the very obvious answer. But yeah, it's kind of like that.
Abby says, I feel like women are just scared to use the term feminism because it has been so tainted. But if you ask them about individual pieces of ideology, they would agree.
Yeah. Very good point. I wouldn't use the word ideology, but everything else. Yeah.
I'm not a crazy feminist. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Well, again, they've been very conditioned to uphold patriarchy.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist if we all fight against it. So they have to get women to fight for it. If only men were trying, it wouldn't work. women have to uphold it. So the only way to do that is to coerce them to think feminism is like some dumb thing.
Yeah.
So
Just reading some of the. I've seen so many women say they're not feminists because women are already equal. Like,
oh yeah, that's a
oh boy.
very privileged view, maybe. I don't know. Zay Zay, the ladies that go from feminist to why I left feminism, it may shock you.
Yeah, we've mentioned them a little bit here.
Yeah, and we've witnessed it with our own eyes
I know.
over the last few years.
Yeah, including women I have greatly admired and women who I credit with radicalizing me.
Cough cough, Megan Murphy, cough cough, other
Yeah.
people. Yeah, Terry.
Yeah. Terry. My heart is broken over that one. But
Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
I mean, that too is wild to me, you know, not to get like gossipy or anything, but it's like they saw, they knew. I understand, like, with, you know, I would say, like, quote unquote, what happened to Megan Murphy.
Hmm.
She was so attacked by other women, WWCTRF, you know,
Yeah.
and bullied brutally. And so I totally empathize with that.
Yeah.
I have also been bullied brutally by radical feminists.
I know.
And but I can't close my eyes to what I've seen. That's the thing. You
Hmm.
know, was it like literally 3 years ago or something that I read Trashing by Joe Freeman on my like one of my first live streams because I
Right.
got kicked off over it. And I was like one of the biggest contributors to Over It. I was on there from like the very beginning, whatever, you know. And but it's like and then since then there have been like literally 3 or 4 more times when I've been, like, trashed to that degree or worse.
Mhm.
And, like, just I think about it actually from time to time in the Joe Freeman essay. She says, "Why do we stay after we've been so abused and bullied by other women?" It's like, because we need it. We still need it. We still need
Mhm.
radical feminism, like, because
Yeah.
once it's still I was still liberated by the stuff, even though the quote unquote movement like hurt me so bad.
Yeah.
The theory and the framework and all that stuff that has helped me so much
Yeah.
to live such a better life. So I will never leave that. That's why I'm like, you know, these women like Megan Murphy was like, I'm not a feminist anymore. It's like
Like, how
it
could you speak at the Canadian Parliament for the rights of women and girls and then okay.
yeah, I can totally empathize with how bad she was bullied, and it was so cruel what people did to her. It really was. It was so
Yeah.
cruel what people did to her. But then to turn around and be like, "Well, I'm going to seek refuge elsewhere." You know,
Um, yeah, that's
my
really
god, I don't know. It's not it's actually not that different than what happened to me, but whatever. Anyways. Yeah.
Liberal feminism and communist or socialist theory in some ways helped birth radical feminism. So, completely disagree. Liberal feminism only, communism or socialist theory only, or completely agree. This is a weirdly worded one.
Yeah, this is a weird in fact, I feel like I mean the birth of radical feminism was um in the like 1700s.
Mm,
So liberal feminism is in that till fast forward to the 1980s, 90s, well 70s.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I said communist socialist theory because there is a lot of overlap with, you know, Marxism, materialism, class analysis, and stuff like that. But
Yeah. Okay, this is not on topic, but I shouldn't be, but I just peeked at Twitter
yeah,
and the creator of this thread messaged me on Twitter. She said,
yeah.
she says, I don't know if if she's here still or not, but she said, "Hi, I'm watching your live stream right now from the beginning, and I want to say, for some of these questions, I forgot to add another option.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, no,
like for
overall,
instance,
I do want to say it's a good, it's like, and why I think I'm the one who brought up talking about this, but
yeah,
why we
you
want to
are
talk about it's just a good jumping off point for discussion, and I think it's really important
right.
to be
Yeah,
having
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, there's so many good questions to discuss in here.
yeah.
She says, I made this well tired and do plan to create a new one that's more nuanced. I didn't expect it to get that much response. You guys are fun and knowledgeable. I'd love if you sent me any questions for possible threads.
Oh,
So
that's really nice. No, yeah,
if you're
I think we said, at the beginning, like, she some of them are weirdly worded and stuff, but that's not a knock on her at all.
oh no, gosh, not at all. No, no,
Yeah.
no. No, we
It's like even
yeah,
despite even that, even the wording of these things becomes a discussion point, and something we can talk about. So
yeah.
yeah, definitely a shout out.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, this was we were like, what are we gonna talk about? And then this thread happened and we were like,
This
perfect.
is it. Yeah.
It's such a great there's so many good questions to discuss, so that's why we're
Yeah,
doing it.
she
Yeah.
really like hits every kind of interesting like talking point.
Yeah,
So
totally. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. All right. You can be a radical feminist while being supportive of transgender people. So only of female to males or trans identified females. Completely disagree, completely agree, or neutral.
well, let's ask the chat.
What do you think, chat? Can you be a radical feminist while being supportive of transgender people? Um, yes or no? Is there a caveat? Is there a yes but? Abby is saying no. C says
Well, I know
only
where
trans identified females. Go ahead.
yeah. No, I'm saying I know where Dragon Fox stands on this.
Yeah, nope. No, stop, please. Let's remember wants clarification. Supportive in what way? Again, this depends on what supportive means. Define supportive.
Yeah,
Lizzie
that's a
says
good point.
no.
I said, what did you say?
I don't remember.
Oh,
But thinking about it now, let's see, what do I think? You can be a radical feminist while being supportive of trans people. Yeah, I guess the question is again, what does supportive mean? Oh, is this our thread creator? Boop boop 13. Hello, welcome. We're having a great time. Um, can you be supportive? I mean, I support trans identified people's rights to freedom from violence and to housing and mental health care and medical care and equal opportunity in the workforce. So,
I'm nodding. You can't see me.
yeah.
Yes, I
Um,
said completely agree.
yeah, I think so too. But yeah, so yes, you can be supportive of transgender people in all of those ways. But I don't think you can be a radical feminist who is in favor of or okay with um, surgeries and hormones and
Right.
puberty blockers for children and
Um,
men and women's sports, yada yada.
yeah, I think you have to drill down into defining supportive.
Yeah.
If you just say the word supportive, I would say completely agree. Um, there are those so-called, TERFs, TIRFs, and that's not
Trans
what I'm talking
inclusive.
about being quote unquote inclusive in that sense. But I've talked many times that we should have compassion for these people. Many of them, if not most of them, are
Uh-huh.
suffering. They are confused. They're dealing with mental illness. They're dealing with comorbidities of mental and physical illness. Um, you know, we should be very compassionate towards that and seeking solutions that are outside this postmodernist concept of transitioning or whatever, or the medical industrial complex that's trying to profit
Right.
off of them and take advantage of them. So I would say 100% completely agree. So going against the green.
Let's see what some people say. Tori says,
Yeah.
I think when most people say supportive, they actually are trying to say inclusive. And in that case, inclusive to trans-identified females only.
Yeah, and I think in that to respond to Tori, an interesting question to ask would be, how do we view TIFs compared to conservative women? Like TIFs who have fully bought into the,
The sauce.
yeah.
Hmm.
Or, how do we, like, obviously what we do, I feel like can benefit them, but they're sort of like, women TRAs or TIFs,
Yeah.
or conservative women or whatever. It's like, yeah, they're going to benefit from radical feminism, but those ideas wouldn't be welcome.
This is a comment from C that's really good. I support trans-identified females more so than right-wing women because they are more likely to understand misogyny and female oppression. Some of them will outright admit it and then transition, unfortunately. I know somebody like this, actually.
Yeah, it's a great comment.
She's very, like, anti-gender ideology, but except for herself. Like, it's really frustrating. She had top surgery and is on testosterone, but speaks out against gender ideology. But she needed it. So it's okay for me, but not for thee.
I see.
Yeah,
Right.
that's really hard to.
Well,
Ugh.
that's like true scum or whatever
Yeah.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that like gender dysphoria is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what the results were.
Yeah, and I think that's again a result of not having supportive be well defined there.
Yeah.
Because obviously a third saying completely agree is pretty large,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. Next question. Men's violent, abusive, and oppressive behavior is inherent.
Ooh, spicy, spicy, spicy.
Okay, wait a
Let's see
second.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boop, boop. Hello, Kelsey. Honestly, I was assuming anyone answering in the sense we should not put them in jail, but in the sense you disagree with the ideology / you include them in your feminism, which is why I put FTM or TIF.
Okay. Right.
Thank you for expanding. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Okay, back to our spicy question. Men's violent,
Spicy.
abusive, and oppressive behavior is inherent. Agree, disagree, or in the middle?
In other words, are you black pilled or are you not? Are you black pilled or are you blue pilled?
Agree. Yep. Agree. 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 Agree with the spicy emojis. Agree. Kelsey, the thread creator, agrees. Agree. 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 Lil Meow says in the middle.
Lil Meow is passing the Ash test, the experiment where going against the grain.
Yep. Abby says this is a hard one. Both natural aggression that is fostered and encouraged through culture.
Yes. Well, again, you kind of answered it for yourself, though, Abby, right? You saying natural aggression,
Right, natural,
that is
yeah.
fostered. It is there. It's in the genes.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get here through dating. Homo habilis didn't date women.
Right, right.
They raped women.
Yeah.
So.
Lepto says, I think it might be inherent, but I didn't used to think so.
Convert. Took the black pill.
Yes. Salad Caesar says genetics is the bullet and environment is the trigger.
Yeah. Okay. That could be like a a middle of the road.
Yep. C says any response other than agree is just being blind to reality. Men have to be taught not to essay women. Look up tea and consent. Who are they targeting?
Right.
I don't know what that is. What is tea and consent?
It's like it's a little analogy about consent where like, if you can't like feed a person a cup of tea, you can't pour the tea down their mouth.
Right.
And then
Okay, so it says the video implies that consent is all very simple. If someone doesn't want tea, don't give them tea. If someone is asleep, they can't consent to tea. Don't give them tea. Okay.
Right.
I got it.
So it's
Thank
like
you.
someone may ask, can I please have a cup of tea? And then they're like, actually, you know what? I don't think I want tea.
Mm.
But you pour it down their mouth anyways.
Right, okay. Lavender Rose says, disagree, true radical feminist. I would love to hear you expand. Let's see. They're violent by default, and you need so much resources just so he doesn't blow up the school.
Yeah, I think that idea that like we have to teach men to not rape is it's so telling of how people feel about it.
Yeah.
Right. Women, yeah, clearly. But that's the other side of the black pill, right? Is that women are inherently not violent. And statistics bears all this out. Irene says the origin of patriarchy is biology.
Lavender Rose says, second waivers don't believe in male original sin. I've expanded on this before. I'm down with the Gail Dines and the Marxist feminists.
Yeah. I mean, all the work Gail Dines has done, and she has sons and believes that she can raise them to not be rapists. But again, it's to raise them to not be rapists.
Right. That requires effort and to go against the nature.
Also, really the problem with socialization theory is it's very misogynistic because it puts the responsibility on mama to raise her son to not be a rapist, because if she does it right, he's not inherently a rapist.
Right.
It must have been something his mommy did in raising him that turned him into a rapist.
Right.
And a lot of people will say that.
Yeah, like that is such a thing with, like, for example, in like notorious studies about various serial killers, they'll say that he had an overbearing mother.
Right.
And that's why he's like this. It's like, why is the women responsible for
Exactly.
men's
That's a
insanity?
major flaw with socialization theory.
I agree.
So
Irene says, even if women were socialized like how men are, I cannot see how women could act the way men do.
right.
I
think
said, I
yeah.
think it's inherent, it's kind of undeniable, but socialization is the biggest trigger.
Yeah. That's a I think there's a socialization element. And I've talked about this before too. I think socialization is more important on the female side. We definitely have to be. I don't think that submission. I think that's the true black pill, is that women are genetically destined to be pick-me's. I'm 95% black pilled. I'm not like 100% there with that. I do think socialization is stronger for women. I think there's an element, obviously we live in a rape culture. We live in a porn culture. It's not like that stuff doesn't have an impact on men's behavior. Like it totally does. It normalizes it. Look at like, I can't talk about it without getting like called racist, but like look at certain religions.
Yeah.
the things that are normalized in the way that women are treated in certain religions and the way that men treat women in certain religions are really, really different than in the modern West, in quotes. You know, the reason I would argue that another reason I would argue it's inherent is because male violence does transcend. It transcends time. It's like literally throughout all of human history. It's every single war. A
And every
byproduct of the war
culture.
is rape. Every culture, every religion, virtually every socioeconomic background, rich people, poor people. It transcends everything. So those are men who are all socialized in very different ways.
Correct.
And they all rape. They don't all rape, but you know what I mean. Rape is prevalent.
Across all.
Yes.
Yep.
So there's so many good arguments, and I really don't think I've ever heard a convincing argument for socialization theory.
Right.
Or a non-misogynistic argument for socialization theory. So
that's exactly what black-pilled Tory.
You know, and I get that women don't want to believe it's inherent because they want to believe in good ones
The
and unicorns
fantasy.
and Nigels, and they want to believe, especially, you know, we've heard real defensiveness from women who have sons, and we know women who have sons who are black-pilled and get this stuff too, right? But you know, no woman with a son wants to believe that there's nothing she can do, that he's like destined to be a rapist. It's also not true that every single man is a rapist.
Of course.
Right? But they all got that Y chromosome.
Let's Remember says, we're mainly talking about violence in the chat, but what about the little ways men oppress us, like pulling our hair, talking over us, threatening us with history?
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff's socialized for sure.
Yeah. Okay. What do we think about the idea that if men are naturally dominant, then women are naturally submissive? Some black pillars saying women's bodies are designed to be dominated.
Right. Yeah, we were sort of touching on that. Yeah, that's the true black pill. We got the pick me gene.
Yeah, I don't think I agree that women are naturally submissive. If women were naturally submissive, men wouldn't have to work so hard to subdue us.
I agree.
If it came natural.
From an evolutionary standpoint, I mean, evolution did weed out the stronger women, the ones who could fight off men and run away, didn't procreate. So
interesting.
It's not like there's nothing to it, you know? Yeah, exactly. Like Lest We Remember is right on point with that.
Men's bodies and minds were bred to make it easier for men. Oh boy.
Well, why is there such a... Think about like horses.
All right.
Horses, like rape is not really a thing amongst horses. You grew up with horses. I grew up with horses. Rape is not really a thing with horses because a girl horse, a lady horse, yeah, can kick a sire, a stallion, yeah, and seriously injure him, if not kill him, right? So it's very much more like the female chooses the male.
Yeah, there was a comment in here. Oh, where the heck was it? Somebody said, in nature, most female species are naturally selective.
Right. Like birds is the other one. What I want to finish my thought about horses is that, like, look at, they're the same size.
Right.
They're, you know,
equally matched
Mares
in power.
win in athletic competitions against stallions and geldings.
Yeah.
You know, they're athletically competitive. Look at the size difference in humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
That didn't come about because the female was choosing the mate or they were dating and they were in love or something.
Right.
That's not how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to highlight this comment from Boop Boop. I'm a West African, and I can add to the culture stuff. West African societies are deeply patriarchal, but I've noticed generally West African men raised in the West aren't as misogynistic as homegrown.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I'm just reading the chat.
Yeah, me too. Dead air. Dragon Fox says dimorphism is to be engineered.
Where is it? Where's the comment? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That men wouldn't have to work so hard to oppress women is going in my argument chess box forever.
Yeah. That's why I think that socialization is more of a factor on the female side. That's my argument for that. I hear the argument that we're genetically pick-me's. Like, I've spent a lot of time in black pill spaces.
Right.
So that's very common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if women were naturally submissive, we wouldn't need to be so conditioned to submit. Men wouldn't need to oppress women to control us because women would just naturally want to be controlled.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree too.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. Women's biology has played a role in our oppression. Agree, disagree, somewhat agree, somewhat disagree. I know what you think about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know what you're thinking. I think about this, and I do. Like, you could interpret, you're interpreting this question as being like the way that I think our bodies actually oppress us, even if there were no men. Like, I've made that argument many times. Like, if all the men vanished, we would still be oppressed by having a uterus. And I more or less still feel that way. Like, I know I've heard the arguments. Joan of Arc was a person who really worked on me about that. And I still feel oppressed by my uterus in the absence of men. But this question also could be interpreted like radical feminism, like the root of our oppression, the heart of radical feminism is that we are oppressed by men and patriarchy because of our biology. And either way, whatever the intention of the question, I would agree heartily.
Yeah, I think me too.
Yeah.
We're crippled by our own fertility and the degree to which our bodies are set up to support pregnancy, constant pregnancy.
Yeah. Yep.
And the results.
And that idea that we are like oppressed by our uteruses in the absence of men, that's not something I'm precious about other women agreeing with me about. Like, I don't really care if other women agree with me on that or not. That's like my own personal belief based on my own experience. Like, I've had a lot of problems with my uterus, basically. So, and ovaries. But, and I mean it in the sense that like hot weather is oppressive. So, you know, because some people are attached to the idea that oppression, you have to have two groups, one oppressing the other. I'm like, oppression can just be like a general negative feeling. But that's like a whole, I feel like I've had like long conversations about that. Like, it could be its whole own conversation.
Yeah. Star Wars quote time. The imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle.
Mm,
That's
a great quote. Fits right in with what we're talking about. Sick of it says life is suffering, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many more do we have? Oh, we got oh my God, there's a lot more.
I
Should
know.
we just speed run the rest of them?
I mean, it's getting late for you, I know. So
I mean, I'm good, but like, how's your energy level?
I'm good too. I'm
Okay.
fine, but I know I'm respective that you're 2 hours ahead of me.
No, my energy's high though.
Okay. I'm fine to continue if you are.
Okay. Yeah.
If people in the chat are, I
I
mean,
think we have like 6 more, so
something
a
like
couple
that.
minutes
Yeah.
each. Yeah.
Oops. Stay alive. Okay. Patriarchy will likely never end.
Another
Agree,
black pill.
disagree, or end in far future? What do you think?
Agree.
Agree. I agreed as well. That's what I voted.
Yeah.
So Gigi says in the far future, Gigi has some hope for the world. That's good.
Yeah,
Because I
we love
don't.
that.
Bastet Owl agrees. Oh, C also says in the far future.
There's no
It
far
will
future
end.
for humanity though, y'all.
Well, I don't think there's a whole lot of long future.
This is the hottest summer in the last 100 years, but it's the coolest summer in the next 100 years.
Right, and we're fucking dying of heat.
So,
yeah.
But this is
Disagree.
another.
The world will get eaten up by the sun at some point.
Yeah. Yes. It's a good one. This is another black pill kind of question.
Yeah.
And I like it.
This is another reason why so many women in the earlier poll voted to off men.
Mm-hmm.
If women hide in storm shelters when the end of the world comes, there will be some time without patriarchy.
Mm.
Sure is hot where I am too, Dragon Fox. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. And the results, interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Agree or in the fire. I mean, that's basically the same answer, though, really.
Right.
Okay. As the world burns, Andrew Tate will use their last remaining Wi-Fi signal to put down women.
Irene's question, do we think climate change would be like this if it was a female-only planet?
Probably
No.
not.
Well, I guess, I mean, we would be reproducing a lot less probably, huh?
Certainly.
The population would not be so high, so that would. I think capitalism is really what got us here.
Agreed. Completely agreed. I mean, yeah.
Agreed.
Once the Industrial Revolution happened, there was no going back.
What, like Exxon knew about climate change in the 70s or something?
I know.
Like, whatever. So,
yeah.
Moon says climate change is man's sin. I agree. That's on them. The
natural male desire to take advantage of others for profit.
Perfect. Yeah.
And just take.
Yep. Greedy. Yep.
Lepta says, I love it when women fantasize about a world without men and some bright spark counters, humans won't survive, duh. I don't fucking care. It's worth it when we haven't had one generation of peace. I know, when I talk about like separatism and antinatalism and whatnot, and people are always like, but what about humans going extinct? My reply is always, what about it?
Yeah, good.
Every species that has ever existed on Earth has gone extinct, and every species that is on Earth now will go extinct. Humans will go extinct. If that means that a generation of women can live in peace, then I'm fine with that.
humans are going extinct.
Right.
Like, yeah, that argument against antinatalism, oh, it's like, oh, but people don't have kids, humans are gonna die out. We are dying out. We
Yeah.
are going to die out. Like, that is inevitably going to happen, like, not that long
Right.
from now. We've created a completely unsustainable system. There is going to be widespread famine. There's going to be things far worse than COVID.
Yes. I know. I just, whenever I hear that, well, what about the human species going on? That is not a concern of mine. We are not so special that we need to exist indefinitely. When billions and billions and billions of life forms on this earth have gone extinct, we will just be another one of those specks floating around in the universe who will go extinct as well. We are not so special that we need to continue the human race forever.
And hopefully we won't turn the world into a desert as we die off either.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair to all the other things that are here to be
Mm-hmm.
killed by one species. But I'm just like laughing at myself right now because wasn't it in your community post that someone was like, I'm sick of women being doomers?
Yeah, somebody did say that because I asked. Yeah, I'm like, well, this might not be the space for you.
Yeah, we're like doomer centric.
Then once we're all dead, aliens will come and say our sports stadiums were temples of worship. I mean, that's not really far from the truth, though.
Doomerism is like very real. It's like realistic though. Is
Being a
it?
doomer is a natural reaction to the situation around us.
Yes. How can you see the things going? That's the thing that it like blows my mind that I don't like. If you had a kid, I don't know, even 10 years ago or something, like
Yeah.
whatever. But like, how could you look at the world now and be like, I'm gonna
You know
have a
what?
child?
An innocent, precious human little baby
It like
is
that seems like a good idea.
no. Love this
Uh,
question.
yes.
Do y'all see humanity existing in the 2200s? So
No.
100 years
Not
from
not
now,
not billions of people, not anything like it looks now. Not at
there
all.
was something here. Where was it? Somebody posted something about the world's population, and I can't find it, but it said 2050, it's projected to be 11.1 billion. Oh, here we are. That's not that far away.
It's insane. It just
I'll be
the
60
earth
years old.
the earth won't support like it is scary. What are we at, like 8 billion or something now? It's
Yeah.
totally scary to think of like to live through a collapse from 8 billion to even like 2 billion or something.
Uh,
Like what that because it's realistic to think that you and I could live through a collapse from 8 or 10 or whatever it gets up to billion to,
I know.
or maybe we die in it, if it comes down to 2/3 of the population dying
I
of
know.
something.
I think about that more than it's probably healthy. About like um what Earth will be like, what my life will be like, because I'm 35, and like what it'll be like when I'm 50 or 60 or 70. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, because it's like, well, we can't keep increasing the population indefinitely. So at some point it's going to go down, but I don't see it going down like gradually.
Right.
Like that is the true doomerism. That's the stuff that's actually frightening to think about. It's like,
Mm.
what if 6 billion people die over the course of like 3 years?
Yeah,
It's
I
hard
don't
to
know.
imagine that happening and not everyone dying because it just would
I
be so disrupted. Like some
mm-hmm.
people will survive though.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
wild.
Abby says, being totally honest, I think every single generation has had this conversation respectfully.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I know somebody else said something like that up here somewhere
Yeah,
too.
sure, like duck and cover or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
nuclear, Cold War threat. They all thought that was going to happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, will we live to see like New York City be underwater?
Venice is getting there.
Yeah.
don't know. Anyway. Okay, lighten up.
Yeah, fun.
Many women want, benefit from, and enjoy patriarchy and gender roles, and without extreme consequences, will rarely fight strongly against it. Agree, disagree, or see it both ways?
Okay. Oh, this was one that was already voted on, so I didn't vote on it. Or this was
Yeah,
just like
exact
the poll
same.
already closed or whatever. I guess I would say see it both ways.
Yeah, lots of agreeing in the chat.
I disagree that they quote unquote benefit from it. I think they're conditioned to enjoy it
Right.
and conditioned to want it. But I actually do think that they face extreme consequences. They just don't see it that way, and I don't
Agreed.
think they
I completely
benefit from
agree.
it. It's pretty extreme consequence. Like being a trad wife is like an extreme consequence.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bad life.
Gigi says there are social benefits, maybe. But then Moon says she doesn't think there are benefits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 77% said agreed. Being in a well-decorated cage doesn't mean they're benefiting from being in the cage.
Exactly.
Here we go again. A gilded cage is still a cage. Everyone's on the same brain waves here. Good
I
job,
know.
gals.
I love it. Our little echo chamber we've cultivated. Lovely.
Thinking men's behavior is inherent means patriarchy and women's suffering is inevitable. Well, I should have said is inevitable. Sorry. What do you think?
I said disagree.
Please share with the class.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I don't think it's inevitable. I think
Right.
men's behavior is inherent, but I don't think that patriarchy and women's, and I did say that I think patriarchy will go on forever. I don't think it's inevitable though.
I don't either. Because I guess that means that it's like natural or it's only the way
Yeah,
of
it's like
things.
yeah. I think that I mean maybe, I don't know. What did the poll say?
The majority agreed. The screenshot was taken last night around this time, though. So
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's still the same.
okay.
I it's interesting because how much shit do Black pillars get, and how it's seen as this niche and extremist and whatever. And this is like a total Black pill
Yeah.
answer, right? Yeah,
Okay.
I
Here's
agree with.
and this too. Not necessarily. We can't control natural disasters, but we still take measures to protect ourselves against them.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. Antinatalism should be a key belief of a radical feminist. Agree, disagree, not for me, but I support it, or no opinion.
Let's see. Okay. What did you say?
Uh, I don't know. I don't really know where I stand on this. I obviously am an antinatalist. Do I think it should be a key belief of radical feminism? It probably should be, but I don't know that I know that it is. What do you think?
I love that our community is divided on this and that we're
Yeah.
getting both. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I said disagree. I
Okay.
am as we just discussed at length,
Yes.
strongly antinatalist myself. And I think someone in the chat said, let's see, T Dot says antinatalism is logical, but it's not integral. I agree with that.
I can't find these chats. I'm sorry. Oh, here we go.
Oh, that.
And then the OP, Kelsey said, I included this question because it's a common argument against thinking men are inherently oppressive.
I think that was probably the previous question.
Oh. Yeah. Sorry.
Irene says antinatalism is what you naturally get to within radical feminism.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I think that follows from our earlier discussion about like when you see this stuff, it's what it naturally leads you to.
Virtual Cabbage says, I agree because there are no good arguments for it not to be.
Irene says birthing girls under patriarchy equals birthing more victims of patriarchy.
Yeah.
I do talk about my most popular video on my channel is why I don't want kids.
Yeah.
I do plan to do a follow-up to that at some point. I still don't want kids. I mean, more reasons why I don't want kids, but two of the reasons I have on there is, and actually this is the reason why I got kicked off of r/fourth wave women.
Oh.
So I was like one of the original members on there. They have a lot of, I was like the fourth person to join or something. These women who were exiles from over it asked me and a few other people to come start this subreddit and asked me to mod. And I was like, I'm not do free janitorial work, you know? But I'll contribute and I'll help you get this thing off the ground. And, and I was writing essays on over it at the time. And I was like, okay. So I write this little essay lit on fourth wave women that said, not birthing males should be basic feminist praxis. And they were like, we're not going to kick you off, but we don't want you here anymore. You're invited to leave. So I think from that perspective of not birthing female victims, not birthing male oppressors, like, yeah, I'm thinking antinatalism, I see it as something a little bit different. I see it as more like the philosophical thing of we should just not bring more humans into the world, which is not necessarily like related to radical feminism. But yeah, if you think of like not birthing oppressors and not birthing victims, then yes, I do agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is always my answer to this question is birthing sons creates more potential rapists and birthing daughters creates all victims of patriarchy. So
yeah,
I'm not here for it.
Well, and also, it also speaks to that, like, that motherhood is sort of a natural oppressed state. A natural oppressed state, and in our society, it's a contrived oppressed state too. So pregnancy being the most dangerous thing a woman can go through physically in her life, besides, some of the misfortunes that might befall some of us. But the most dangerous natural thing that a woman's body can go through. Like, if you don't become pregnant, the chance of you having a blood clot or something like that is so much lower than you go through pregnancy. You could have gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, strokes, all those kinds of things. Increased risk of male violence, which is not your fault. None of those things are, but so that aspect of natalism versus antinatalism. And like the female antinatalism subreddit, they're always talking about that stuff, about how bad it is for women physically. So now that I'm thinking about it more, I'm like, maybe it should be.
Yeah. This is good. Black women explain how they're more likely to die of childbirth. And you did a stream about this, right?
Yes, and I actually was thinking about revisiting that because there was another really good article in the New York Times about that. Why are so many Black women dying in childbirth.
Oh my God. In 2023.
And something that I would, talking about like the little things that we can do towards anti-racism or whatever. It's like to highlight those topics that
certainly
affect women of color.
Certainly. Okay, next one. I am willing to, or have, or wondering about cutting off close male family members or friends since diving into radical feminism. Already have not, and don't plan to, have not but would consider, or it's not necessary to do so. This is hard to answer because I guess, so I have not because I don't have men in my life.
Right.
And I would consider, but I don't have men in my life. So I don't really know how to answer this for myself.
Yeah. For me, it's have not, don't plan to.
Mm-hmm.
I consider the men who are in my life, and this is again something I've talked to you about many times, but they're like grandfathered in.
Uh-huh.
I approach those relationships differently than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think, like, at the very least, if you have relationships with men, to always make sure that you're not putting in more than you're getting out, so that it's giving you things instead of draining you of things, because that's the dynamic that makes it oppressive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like
this comment sums it up. I'll kick them out of my close heart, but they can exist around me.
Yeah. And I think even
let's see what the results were. 33% said they already have, and 35% said they haven't, but they'd consider doing so.
Mm-hmm.
They're big numbers.
Right. It's interesting, and I think people who, I read some of the replies to this and the quote tweets and stuff.
Yeah.
That they're like the inconsistency between we want 100% of men to disappear from the planet, but then 2/3 of the women who answer this have said totally fine to have them in your life.
Right.
Well, there is kind of a little disconnect there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Lepto says, not really close with my family anyway, but I have a lower tolerance for reconnecting with male relatives.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if anything, like, radical feminism made me think about how much energy I put into relationships with men, and especially not the men who are close to me, like, which would be my dad and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But like more just like acquaintances and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, they're just there to like waste my time, and I don't need to put any energy into that. Like, and I don't owe them anything, basically. Whereas I think before I was like much more conditioned to be like, well, I owe them like politeness and everything. And now I'm just like totally much more okay with just being like, go away. Like, I owe you nothing. So.
Yeah. This is good. Yeah. I don't allow misogynists in my friend circle or talk to them unless I have to.
Yeah.
Radical feminist beliefs have made me more aware of misogyny and societal bigotry, but it has worsened my life in some ways. Agree, disagree, or neutral?
So another one that's like interestingly worded.
Mm-hmm.
I said disagree, but it's like I agree with the first part, but I disagree that it's worsened my life.
I don't think it's worsened my own life. And obviously, yes, I'm more aware of misogyny and societal bigotry now.
I think I guess if you could say it's worse in my life in some ways, I would say it's been a net benefit. I guess maybe, you know how people are like, oh, I wish I was still a normie, you know? But like, I
Yeah.
don't, but I like get that, you know what I mean? Like, it more helped me than it hurt me in any ways.
Yeah. Just, yeah, lots of agreeing in the.
Yeah. Hard, yeah, some of it's depressing, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Once once your eyes are opened and you can't not see reality for what it is, that's hard. And you have to find ways to cope. But I would not say that it's worse in my life in any way, becoming a radical feminist.
Yeah, and I think go to the results. I think that this almost could be used to it's I don't know if she's still here, but yeah, I think it's almost like one of those questions that's like a gotcha or something that like could be used by people to say like, oh, look at radical
It's
feminism
worsened your
like
life.
worsens people's lives.
Mm.
Yeah, and I don't think that's how she meant it.
Right.
Like or just, meant it to spark conversation or something, but like, yeah, I mean, that first part, like radical feminist beliefs have made me more aware of misogyny and societal bigotry. It's like, that's another one of those just sort of true things. Like,
Yes.
you
Fact.
that's, yeah, fact.
Fact.
And that's painful. So I guess you could say that's a way in which it can worsen
Worsen.
your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But again, it's like a net benefit. If it's like worsened my life by 3%, it's made my life better by 97%,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's true. Being gender critical or trans exclusionary does not make one a radical feminist. Agree, disagree, both sides, or they're separate things.
Yeah, I said agree, but I mean
Agree.
they're separate things. It's like a Venn diagram or whatever. It's like a square
Right.
and a rectangle type thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and we say this all the time that being trans critical or gender. Oh, did you hear the kitty?
yes, value
Being
added.
trans.
Aww.
Frankie. Being gender critical or trans critical, does not make a radical feminist. We've talked about this at length.
Yeah.
And everyone agrees.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible to reform and rehabilitate men from their misogyny and bigotry. Agree, disagree, a small percentage, or possible but not likely.
Meow.
Hello, he's here sitting on my desk now.
Aww.
So let's see here. Irene says disagree. Gigi says disagree. Let's remember says disagree.
Yeah, I said possible but not likely, but now I'm like rethinking and probably more like disagree.
Oh, this cat. He's licking. I'm trying to move the mouse and he's licking my fingers.
Aww.
Please, Frankie. He's very, very affectionate.
Oh, I'm like so jealous.
Yes.
Dragon Fox says, why waste our time? Which I think is a really good reply.
I agree.
It's like, that's not where our like energy should be going because it is not likely. So why would you spend energy doing that?
Expired Milk says men could be less horrible, but energy spent from women trying to make that happen is energy poorly spent. Also, male cat in my home, not very separatist of me. It's not my home; it's his home. I am cat sitting him.
Very unseparatist of you. You went to a male cat's home.
I know, to look after him. Yeah, why do we have to teach them?
Right. It's not our job.
Yeah.
So if they want to you know, amongst themselves. I've talked about this author before. Hold on, I just want to double check.
It looks like I accidentally didn't include the results to this slide. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you can just say, I'll tell you what they are.
Oh, wait, maybe I did.
Oh.
Nope, I didn't.
It's
not loading for me.
A small percentage was 34%. That was the highest.
Okay.
Possible but not likely was 29%. Disagree 21%, and agree 14%. There's a guy, and I read his book early, Jackson Katz.
Oh, yes.
And you know, I've talked about him a lot because I think he's like a real one, until I'm proven otherwise.
Yeah.
But he points out misogyny, and the book is amazing. His book, it's called, I don't know, Toxic something or whatever. But like, it's all about like how all media is so misogynistic, and men need to like step up and, you know,
Yeah.
work amongst themselves.
Right.
And like his whole thing is like, hey, if we fix this, this is a problem. If we fix it, men will also benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, whatever. He has a very practical approach. So yeah, no, I think that was a great poll. Shout out to
Boop Boop
Kelsey.
13, Kelsey.
Yeah.
That's great. It was interesting to discuss all this and see all the chats.
Yeah, chat was amazing.
Seriously.
Smart ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Smart little echo
Chat
chamber.
was on fire today. It was. This is the longest stream probably. Well, actually, you know what? Our Is Gender a Cult one might be a slightly bit longer. Yeah, I think so.
Wow. No, this was like definitely worth the length.
Oh, heck yeah.
Well, I think last week you and I talked on stream for
I know.
Yeah, right.
We always talk after the fact.
Yeah, last week you and I talked on stream for like 2 hours, and then I think after the stream we talked for like at least an hour. And I was like, oh man, I wish we had like switched to like another stream and done like an after party, because everything like we were saying was still like such a good discussion.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we get the real shit.
Yep. But yeah, thanks for hanging out for all this time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I think like what I really, really appreciate about the chat here is like that it's like it's like the consciousness raising group of my dreams. Like, because I feel comfortable to like say something that's not totally popular, and you know, we'll all like get something, and I feel like other people feel that way here too. It's like you don't have to say like the most popular take. Like everyone's going to be respectful.
Yes, and
we'll all like learn from each other and get something out of it.
Yeah,
disagree.
It's safe space to be spicy if you want to be, and just yeah, it's the best. It's so nice. I am always endlessly like, even though we've been streaming for like over a year now together, I'm always just like, wow,
been like almost 2 years, hasn't it?
Okay, I suppose,
or
probably.
I don't know. Yeah, it's been like 2 years, I think.
But I'm always just like, wow, there's so many people who come and participate. Like still to this day, I am just like, wow, it's so
I
nice.
know. No, it's amazing.
This is nice. Lily took your yoga class.
I'm gonna do another one. That's amazing. I love that. I think Expired did some of it too. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it's like there were a couple questions tonight where it's like everybody in the chat said one thing and my answer was something different, but it's like I don't feel like, you know, scared of what's going to happen if I disagree, and I feel like I can defend my points, and so
yeah, it's awesome. It's so good.
We're like all more or less on the same page, but we have our
But
little
there's room
variations of
for,
thinking.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly how it should be.
Okay. It's definitely time for his wet food.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, he's not going to shut up till he gets food.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess we should
Cat
probably
in the
go.
chat. Yeah, wrap up soon. For some reason, I can't type in the chat. It keeps telling me that my internet connection is poor. So I was trying to say that everyone here is so wonderful. And thank you for being here and joining us and having great comments and feeding mail. I know. Yes, thank you everyone for being here and all of your great comments in the chat and your questions and like the things that you say that push us to think things differently is all
love
wonderful.
That.
And
love it.
Yeah, it's getting late for Lisa, that's for sure. I have to feed this kitty, so thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah, really good stream.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, are you streaming on Friday?
I am, but I don't have a definite topic yet, so I'm definitely open to any topics or articles or oh, this is amazing.
I know.
Kelsey, boop boop. This is like what it's about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like exploring.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, stream or topic ideas for Lisa. You can leave her a comment in her channel.
Yeah.
Lisa often will
anywhere.
make content based on suggestions. So
yeah, I always do. Actually,
yeah.
Someone suggested, I want to say it was Lil Meow, suggested to talk about beauty pageants and how like the Miss America came out as a result of women getting the right to vote. Like it came out in 1921.
Oh boy.
And women got the right to vote in the US in 1920. And they borrowed the whole sash thing came from.
Oh boy.
Like they took the sashes from the suffragists and they did like the swimsuit competition was like total. That was radical, you know, like that was so taboo.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of normalized that. So I thought that was a really good topic. I was trying to find an article about it, but I wasn't really coming up with too much. But I might work on that. But yeah. Anyways.
Thanks for your great Twitter thread.
Yeah. Awesome. Did the work for us.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Well, subscribe to Lisa if you're not already, because she streams on usually Friday afternoons.
And I'm so close to 5,000 subscribers too.
Wow.
I know. I'm really excited.
Amazing.
I know.
Okay. Well, have a great night, all. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We'll see you
everybody.
next time.
Bye.
Okay, bye. It's not letting me end it. It says my internet connection is poor. It won't let me end the stream. So we're still kind of here.
I guess we could just close the window.
Yeah.
Normally you just. Okay, so I'll just say goodbye to you now and I'll talk to you in Discord.
Yeah, okay. Bye all. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Bye.